A few years before buying the homestead, the property was logged and left these large maple stumps all over the yard and the woods. The ones in the woods can stay and rot and become habitat stumps for local wildlife, but the ones in the yard are going to need to go. Now, I've used a dozen different ways to remove stumps over the years, but this stump grinder really takes the cake. The faster method is using large machinery to grab it or rip it out of the ground with a backhoe or bulldozer, but there's a lot of tension that goes into that, and it builds up a lot of force, which can become dangerous, especially when using lines, ropes, or chains. Done properly, that's not a problem, but you only need to do it improperly once in order for you to have lifelong consequences. I was having some trouble getting the chainsaw all the way through, so I used a maul to knock down the pieces I already cut, and then just trimmed it the rest of the way down. The grinder can take down a full stump from the top down, however it just takes a lot longer and there's a lot more wear and tear on the carbide cutting bits. This one's been sitting here for nearly 10 years, so if you look closely you can see spalting in the maple. That's where these dark black and blue lines appear through the wood. It's a precursor to rot. This muck in the middle really dulled up my chainsaw, which just requires a sharpening. It's not a big deal, but it will shorten the life of that blade. Another great method for taking stumps out would be the burning method, but that takes a lot of fuel. I've burnt an entire tree trying to eat its own stump and still had remnants left behind. However, burning does tend to get down deep into the roots, but can also cause root fires, which will smolder over a long period of time. I can't take that risk here because I'm leaving the homestead in a couple days and won't be back for an entire year. Our loyal viewers out there will know that we're about 1,400 days from moving into the abandoned homestead full time, and that I only get a week or 2 weeks a year to go up and maintain the property. While I absolutely love the 1 or 2 weeks a year that I get to come up to the homestead and take care of small projects, find roof leaks, repair issues, run the systems, it is not enough to maintain the property and the buildings. I of course prioritize the main shops and the main buildings, the cabin and the lodge. However, some of the smaller sheds and outbuildings are seeing serious degradation and we just cannot keep up with it. But that is the nature of doing 1 or 2 weeks of work on a homestead that should require full-time attention. Of course, it doesn't help that I take a break from that critical work to grind a stump out of the yard just so I can make it easier to mow. Now, I'm only taking this one down to about 5 or 6 inches below the grass level. I only need the lawn to grow up over it so I can continue mowing. If I were to pour a foundation here, I would see rotting of this organic structure over time and it would weaken that foundation. So your future plans for stump grinding have a lot to do with the depth and the method that you use. And don't worry, I have a bunch more of these ahead of us. So if you didn't catch all the details on this one, we'll see you next year.